Sure it's going to be okay like this.
Okay, so this is our last attempt for the time being to see if we can go live with the sound. I did an update, and that might have been the issue, so it might have been my fault, not yours.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Are we actually talking at the
We
moment?
are live on Facebook.
We are live. My
Yeah.
name is Chip Summers, and I'm hoping that you will be able to hear my words of wisdom, which apparently have been just about audible, but they sound as if they're coming from a million miles away. And we have been relying on our technical experts, Sylvia,
Sylvia's done a
to
sterling job in showing up. Now, can you hear us, you guys?
if I was to
Yes! Yes!
okay, whose fault was that?
It's my fault.
Yeah. So, Colleen, just in case you're listening, I want you to make it quite clear that was not my fault, all right? So we'll have less of that. Oh, it's always Chip's problem with technology. It's usually hers. Right.
So it was my fault I didn't do an update for the service that we use to stream live. Sylvia, God bless you. Sylvia's jumped
Yes.
on every single one and has given us feedback. So we are live, everybody.
Yeah, God bless you, Sylvia. God bless you,
Yeah.
because without you, Ronnie's fault would not have been noticed. But
Chip would like it entered into the record
I
that it was
would.
my fault. So if you could all note that.
Especially Colleen, who takes enormous delight in my discomfort with technology.
I'm sure Colleen will watch this. Okay, so we're glad we
Right.
entertained you. We wanted to jump on today and do a little video on staying sober in a time of crisis.
Yeah.
Because it's clear this is a crisis that we are all in globally. It's not just one place or one group of people, it's affecting the entire planet. And there's lots of, we're noticing, a lot of people in a lot of fear and panic and stress. I'm also noticing a lot of panic, there's a lot of panic buying, and we'll talk about that, but there's a lot of people buying alcohol. And it's kind of reminds me when I used to live in South Florida of like the hurricane parties when we knew a hurricane was going to hit. People would have to stock up, and we all knew that we would have about 48 hours where we couldn't go out, couldn't do anything, and we'd often lose power, so people would drink. And there's a
Yeah.
kind of that kind of atmosphere a little bit. And we wanted to be able to offer you guys some extra support because getting drunk right now is not the solution to any of this.
No.
And we want to support you to stay anchored and strong in your sobriety, because it can also feel that normal rules don't apply right now,
Yeah.
because everyone's structure and schedule has just been completely upended. And
Yeah.
sometimes when it feels like that, we're like, oh, it doesn't count. I need a drink. I deserve a drink. Everyone else is drinking. And we kind of want to tell you that actually sobriety matters even more than ever.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons that we exist is to try and give people help and support doing something that is incredibly difficult under normal circumstances. And now here we are in an extraordinary situation where you can be suddenly ambushed by a change of the rules, that life rules and sort of transport rules, and where you can do and where you can do, and all those things are suddenly changing, and they can change very quickly. And that sort of thing just raises anxiety. It raises fear of what's going to happen next. Certainly in this country, a lot of people are getting worried about how they're going to continue to work, how they're going to get to work if they want to go to work, how they're going to travel, big plans that they've made, what's going to happen to them. And I think there's, as we've said, we're here to support people because we recognize that sobriety is a difficult thing to achieve and you need help with it. But right now, it's that little bit harder. It's what I would describe as a kind of red flag moment where you really need to kind of be super aware of what is happening and how you are particularly. And if you feel that, you are, the stress and the anxiety is pushing you into an area where a relapse is more likely to happen. And what we want to do is try and, just give you a few tips on how best to try and avoid that, because this is an extraordinary situation and it requires that little bit of extra effort, I guess, to maintain sobriety.
So we want to first talk about all of the feelings that you're probably experiencing. I know a lot of you A lot of us are experiencing a lot of fear right now. There's a heightened state of fear and anxiety, worry, frustration. We want to encourage you to, like, now is not the time to be stoic and push those feelings down, and give you permission to feel your feelings. Now, there's some of you who may be going through, maybe you've had some really big events planned. People are getting married. People are getting on planes to go and do something they've been planning for months. And they're incredibly disappointed and frustrated and angry that all of their plans have been cancelled. I know when I got married, just a few days after my wedding, it was the volcano. If you remember, it was 10 years ago. The volcano in Iceland disrupted a lot of flights. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, imagine if that had happened a few days earlier. But Chip, you were actually caught in the middle of that, weren't you?
I was at Gatwick Airport, and I was just about to fly off to organise a 4-day car rally I organised for a charity. And my initial reaction was really being panic. We're angry and panic about how much, this is it, that the whole thing's ruined, everything's disastrous, it's going to be, that's it, it's all that 6 months of hard work is gone. I was just panic. And then I sat down and I thought about it, and I thought, okay, this is the situation I've got. This is what I've got to deal with. What can I do? And I had to make alternative plans to get, had to get to France. Had to make alternative plans to get to France. But I mean, it just took me a bit of time to get over that initial panic and kind of stress and, because I'd put a lot of effort into it. And I think the same sort of thing can happen now. You can have put a lot of, everything's going to take you by surprise. We've had rules change here. I think 3 times last week, the rules changed about travel, what you could do, where you could go. The advice changes all the time. And it's quite difficult to keep up on that. And as I think my big thing about all this is that life is quite hard anyway. Life is stressful. It gets difficult. We particularly trying to stay sober in difficult times. And this one is going to throw some curveballs at you that you're not ready for you, because under normal circumstances, you can plan ahead. When the kids are coming home on holiday, where you're going to be at work at the weekend or not at the weekend. How you're going to get around. You kind of, although it might be difficult, how you're going to manage it. Suddenly, you don't know how anything. You don't know what's going to be around. You don't know what transport's going to be available. You don't know what your work rules are going to be. You don't know if you're going to be able to work. And if you're working in the gig economy, that's really going to hit you hard. There's a lot of things that make things very difficult and uncertain. And I don't think we like uncertainty. I think we like things to be as balanced and as kind of even as possible. And when they are, we cope better. When we're constantly ambushed by things, then it makes life much more difficult. And so what we're encouraging you to do is particularly really keep on top of how you're feeling emotionally. We always have asked you to kind of journal or verbalize and try and find somebody to share how you're feeling with. And I know many of the Soberful listeners will have kind of already got into the habit of being much more in tune with how they are emotionally. And what we're saying is double down on that right now. Kind of really, get extra aware of where you are, because you need to be sure that you're not heading in the wrong direction. So double down on that now. A bit more verbalizing, using the Soberful website, using whatever resources we're going to provide you with, using the resources you've got in your community to help you stay sober. Very much keep in touch with how you are emotionally, because that is going to be a bit of a roller coaster ride at the moment. And so that's definitely something we would encourage you to do. And also to make sure that you try and retain balance, because there's going to be a lot of information out there that's quite hysterical. There's going to be a lot of information there that's sort of typically English. We've pretended it's not happening. And now suddenly we're all having to panic about it is happening. So everything's going up and down. And I like to know what my week ahead is going to be like. I mean, I plan my week ahead. I know what it's going to be like. I can't do that now. I can't plan my week ahead. And that raises my stress levels. So I think we're asking people to do what we've always encouraged them to do, which is to be really in touch with how you're feeling emotionally, because that's going to have a big impact on your sobriety and your ability to stay sober.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is your feelings right now, whatever they are really valid. So it's not, we have a healthcare system that's overwhelmed, and you may feel incredibly disappointed, angry, crushed that you didn't get to go and fly to the Bahamas on your holiday. Don't minimize that. Your feelings are very valid. What we want you, and the reason this is important is we want to process through our feelings. If we get stuck in anger or blame, it's a waste of energy. Now, those are necessary emotions to travel through as we react to these changing circumstances. But when we get to acceptance, which is just what Chip described when his travel plans got messed up, once you get to acceptance, then your brain can go, okay, what can I do to respond to this? What is my next steps? When we're in anger and fear and blame and disappointment, it's hard to we don't make as good decisions. Now, we don't want to dismiss those feelings. We don't stuff them down, but we want to travel through them. So I want to say a little bit about worry, because I know so many of you are going to be worrying about so much. We have people, everyone has someone they're worried about. I know so many people are going to be worried about finances. So here's the thing about worry, and this is a mindset shift. We are going to waste a lot of energy worrying about things we cannot control. And right now, there's a lot that we can't control. The only thing we can control right here and right now is our response to these events. We can't control whether we're going to travel or not, whether our kids are going to be in school or not, whether we're going to get to the grocery store or not. There's a lot out of our control. All we can control is our response. So when we worry about things that are completely out of our control, we are wasting a lot of energy. Those are black holes. There's no destination there. So instead, when you find yourself going down that black hole, I want you to stop, refocus, and just focus on the things that are within your control that you could actually have power over or change. I say things like, I don't have time for this today. I do not have time to give to this today. So, and that just helps me refocus on the stuff that is in my control and the things that I can take care of. So my kids are probably going to be off school, and we're going to go to Barnes and Noble later, and I've ordered some stuff on Amazon, hope that it gets here, to entertain, and some like math books, and just so I can, we can get some structure and stuff at home. I can't worry about what's going to happen in the school or not. So take a deep breath, center yourself, and just know that all you can do here is choose your response to what's happening.
Yeah, I was thinking as you were talking then, one of the things that because you were talking about control, and one of the things that we have lost is the normal control we have over our lives, because there are kind of government dictates coming in. There are all kinds of rules being changed. And the one thing we have lost is kind of the normal control of our life. Now, when you lose something, the first thing you have to do is accept the reality of that loss. So you have to accept that things have changed. Things have changed, and that's just a fact of life. The second thing you have to do is then have the feelings associated with that loss. So whatever those might be, frustration, anger, fear, anxiety, whatever, you have those feelings, express those feelings. And, as Ronnie said, that, you're quite entitled to any of them. There's no rules here. The third stage is then to kind of readjust the environment where this loss of control. So you're going to have to make changes. You're going to have to find different ways of dealing with things. Some people will be lucky enough to be able to carry on working through the internet, be self-isolating at home or whatever they're doing. They'll still be able to maintain contact with their work. But there are going to be quite a lot of changes to the way you do things that you're going to have to put in place. And the last one is obviously to just kind of get more used to the fact that things are going to be quite fluid at the moment. And kind of, there's no point in getting really, really angry and frustrated every time a change comes down from above, because That's going to be the deal right now. They're going to be There are going to be some maybe losses of freedom of movement, things like that are going to really quite affect your life, and they can be really, really annoying. And obviously, one of the things we've said over the months is, control of your emotions will help you control your sobriety so much more. It's when your emotions get out of control that your sobriety is threatened. And this is, as I said, this is a red flag moment for you to keep super alert to how you're feeling. And I could easily envisage situations Ronnie described about hurricane, where people are going to be stuck at home. They're not going to be able to go out to do the normal things that they would have done to kind of entertain themselves. The chances are that there's going to be much more drinking at home now amongst other people. People may even, I don't know what they're going to do, but I mean, it's just a time to be super alert and realize that this already difficult life is going to be that little bit more difficult for a while.
Yeah, so I want to talk about staying sober during this time, because it is going to feel like normal rules don't apply right now. That everything is being upended, and this sort of like hurricane party, let's just get drunk, is going to be going on around you. I know one of the things that that's one of the things that people are buying a lot of. I've heard a couple of reports of that. So here's the thing. There's nothing about this situation that alcohol is going to improve. In fact, it's going to make it worse. Number one, alcohol abuse lowers your immune system. And that's the last thing any of us want to do right now. We also don't want to burden our healthcare systems in any way, shape or form. We want to get through this sober. So whatever support structures you're using, some of you may find you won't be able to access them because you can't get out to meetings or groups or whatever it is, or your therapist or whatever it is you do. Therapy is really easy to do online. So ask your therapist if you have one, or your coach, that you can do stuff online if you're not already. There are lots of online meetings. So make use of those. And Chip and I are going to be doing some extra support in this group. We're going to be jumping on weekly to do some Q&As, to just do some support groups, to just see how you're feeling, and offering some support and all of that kind of stuff. But it's important, as everything gets upended, that you are purposeful and thinking about having structure around your sobriety, because it still comes first. Now, balance. Balance is about adjusting to circumstances as they change. So it's not that we can do the same things we've always done, but we still want to put our sobriety first and anchor it as much as we can. We want to look at creating some kind of structure if we can, looking at what's online, putting that in our diary, showing up for the online event, whatever it is, whoever it is, just to keep us, to just kind of keep that balance as we're going forward. I do want to say a word about, I talk about this a lot, that we live in the internal and the external world, and we get lost in the external world when we're drinking. We get lost in people's opinions and what others think about us and what we look like and what we have and status, and we lose ourselves. And sobriety is about reconnecting with who we really are on the inside. Now, it's really easy to do this right now because we're being bombarded with information, misinformation, and opinions of varying degree. So I want to support you guys to have boundaries in where you're getting your information from and who you're listening to, especially on social media. Personally, I stick to scientific sources and people who I really, really trust. Fear and panic are contagious. And that's an external thing where it just gets kind of out of control. And we have to go within to anchor and to stabilize ourselves. Does that all make sense? This is about having boundaries and about having balance as we go through this situation.
Yeah, I mean, we have had a contagious fear here about the shortage of toilet paper. I mean, what that's got to do, it's got nothing to do with this virus at all. It doesn't even manifest itself in a need for extra toilet paper. So why? But I mean, I've seen people fighting in the supermarket over toilet paper and you can't buy it for love nor money. It doesn't make any sense at all, but it's really indicative of how a message sort of somehow gets out there, people pick up on it, and panic takes place. And I really want to emphasize what Ronnie said, that sobriety has to come first. If you're not sober, everything else goes to hell in a handcart. And that has to be your major thing. And, you know, if I think back over times when people have relapsed, it's like, well, you know, I had a big death in the family, or, you know, some drama happened and it gave me an excuse to drink. And I want to try to emphasize that, you know, but this isn't an excuse to drink. This is an excuse to double down on looking after yourself, because you're going to need to be super in control, because your life is going to be turned upside down. As I said, you know, you may find that you've got all your kids at home next week. You may find that some of the schools, I don't know, it's going to be all over. Nobody's going to know for sure. So being on top of yourself emotionally, and just being in charge of yourself physically as well, which obviously you lose when you're drinking, is going to be really, really important. And as Ronnie said, I know I'm going to do an extra Q&A every week. So if you have questions about, you know, how to deal with this kind of situation, then I won't be able to give you any scientific information about coronavirus, but certainly about how to deal with difficult situations. Because, you know, all your normal dynamics, like, you know, whatever happened, you know, your partner goes off to work, if you had a partner, and you got yourself into a real routine, all routines are going to be stopped. Your normal routines are going to be thrown up in the air, and they're not going to be planned. You know, when you go on holiday, you plan to kind of change your routine. Your normal routine gets planned. You've got all excited. You planned it in advance. Now you could find your routine changed at a moment's notice, where you can go, how you can get there, all those kind of things. So you're going to have to be super alert, and being sober is a very good way of staying super alert, because you don't want to get caught unawares.
Yeah, so we want to just let you know that this is, you know, there's just so much out of our control. We're going to have all of these feelings, and all of that is irrelevant. We've got to stay sober. We have to put that first. It's the most important thing. So many of you are healthcare providers or providing services that are really needed in our community. And we want to kind of say we've got your back, so that you can go out there and do what you have to do in your communities to serve and to help and all of that kind of stuff. And I also want to say, for the people I know who are working in the tourist industry, if you work with an airline industry, are facing some really scary uncertainty right now. And we also want to say we've got your back too. We want to provide, you know, as much free support as we possibly can as you go through all of these different emotions, as circumstances continue to change. We can get through this. And the difference between getting through this and really struggling is having the right tools and using them. It's as simple as that. And, you know, we are no science experts in this virus, but we are experts in dealing with feelings and emotions and sobriety when there's a crisis. We do know how to do that. And you know, that's what we want you to really focus on, is developing those tools so that we can all get through this together. So yeah, a couple of people are saying, like Nicole's saying, totally see how a relapse can happen under these circumstances. This is a prime relapse time, and we're really aware of it, and that's why we really want to be there for you. You know, people, what we want to say really is go back to basics. Things are going to change daily, and just think about what you're going to do to maintain your sobriety and your emotional sobriety today. It might be different tomorrow, but what are you going to do today? And then make that decision again tomorrow, and then go from there.
Yeah, because one of the things that could easily be happening is people could get bored. Because they have lost the ability to do the sort of things that used to keep them interested, going down the gym, doing all those things that they used to do to try and keep. And I could easily see a situation where boredom could set in, and that to me is a relapse factor. People being bored. Well, what can I do? How can I'm uncomfortable with myself, because when your normal routine has changed, you are going to have to probably, some of you, especially if you're kind of on lockdown, are going to be spending a lot of time in your own company. And, there's a saying that says, a chip on his own is in bad company. And that applies to anybody else. We're not very good at kind of, looking after ourselves and being in our own company, and we're not used to it. It took me a long time to get used to sort of being around myself and without distractions. And the chances are we're going to lose a lot of the kind of activities that we used to have for a moment, for a few months. The things that we used to do, go swimming, go to the ball game, or the soccer game, the things that we used to do to kind of make our life interesting and exciting and fun, suddenly we're going to be deprived of those things. And there's only, we don't even have television, so we can't even watch box sets. But maybe this is the opportunity to write your journal, really, really journal hard. And, if you're working the steps, this is the time to do your fourth step. It's a little gift for you, a little bit of time there. But certainly I would be doubling down on journaling and using this. This website is there for you to kind of talk to each other, to kind of interact with each other. We're going to be there to try and answer as many questions as we can, but that's a resource. You may not be able to. A lot of meeting rooms may shut down over the next few months. We've got no idea. But there's an online meeting room here. There are other online meetings, but there's certainly one here where you can use it and make use of being able to interact with other people.
So I want you to watch out in the Sober4 Facebook group. We will be doing regular little sessions like this. We'll do a Q&A session some point this week, one of us or both of us, where we can just help. We want to do some triage emotional support. So if you are struggling,
I like that.
Triage emotional support, good, right?
Yeah.
If you are struggling, feel like your feelings are out of control, you're just anything like that, it's a threat to your sobriety. Keep an eye open for that. I don't know dates or times yet because everything is changing by the minute here. But we will be in this group a lot, and we will be here to give you triage emotional support. We want to stay...
Tess. Triage emotional support system. Tess. I love it.
We just thought of that. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Tess. Thank you for bearing with us with the technical difficulties. We want everybody.
They were not my fault. They were Ronnie's
fault.
On
the record. My fault.
Yeah, on the record. Thank you, Colleen. I want to mention, please, that you laughed at the wrong person.
Yeah, and Sylvia. Thank you, Sylvia, and everybody who bared with us till we finally got to broadcast. Stay connected in this group. We will be here for you. Stay safe. Anchor yourself in whatever structures that you have found helpful in your sobriety, and we will all get through this together. Our experience is that sober people in recovery, recovering addicts, we are extraordinary. We have all fought our own personal battles and been through our own crises and gone to deep emotional depths that other people haven't. We have experience and resources that are going to be helpful right now. So we want to really support this community to come together and get through get through what's coming up together as a community, and to really help everybody else around us as well. So thank you for watching. We'll post in the group before we go live, so watch out for that, and reach out to us if you need anything. We're here for you.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.